If, then, else. You ever play that game where if you do this, then I will do that, else I won't do anything? It's a very useful tool in computer programming when you chart out. You have the computer. If the hour is less than 6 p.m., then the proper response is good day. If it's greater than 6 p.m., then the proper response is good evening. If, then, else. It can also be used to strike up an agreement, an arrangement. Both of our scriptures this morning are using this if and then arrangement. In Genesis, we see Jacob arranging a vow with no less than God. If God will be with me and watch over me on this journey and give me food to eat and give me clothes to wear. If God will give me all these things, and if I am able to return safely to my Father's house, then, kind of want to put in an only then, if God does everything on Jacob's list, then the arrangement would be successful for Jacob. And then Jacob says, then will the Lord be my God. Hate to break it to you, Jacob. This is not how I would advise interacting with the God of creation, making the Lord perform for your personal enrichment. That's what I would say to Jacob if ever I were asked. Now, today we're going to take a close look at Jacob and his brother. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Esau means red. He was covered in red hair. He's also known as Edom. Jacob roughly means heel catcher. Their mother, Rebekah, loved Jacob more than Esau. And it seems that God loved him too. As it turns out, Jacob does receive all that he's asked for and more. When we look at the life of Jacob, we see a person greatly blessed by God. Everything Jacob did was met with success. And it all started when Jacob convinced the elder brother to sell his birthright for some bread and a bowl of lentil stew. Esau was the elder brother, only by a few seconds, but still those seconds were enough to make Esau the firstborn of Rebekah and Isaac. Jacob took advantage of his brother being very hungry, famished, and also because Esau despised his birthright. He didn't find any value to it. And he was willing to give it all up for a quick meal. But Jacob did not stop there. When their father Isaac had become old and had become weak in his eyes, meaning he couldn't see very well, Jacob tricked his father into giving him the blessing that should have been Esau's. And even though he did not seem to mind giving up his birthright, Esau was not happy about missing out on his father's blessings. In fact, it bothered Esau so much that he vowed to kill his brother Jacob after their father had passed for all the bad things he had done to him. And it seemed that Esau valued the blessing of his father more than having a birthright of being the eldest son. And even if Esau did not care that Jacob tricked him out of his birthright, he did seem to mind missing out on his father giving him a blessing. Now, his mother, Rebekah, heard that Esau was planning on killing Jacob. So she warned him. And she told him, you better get away from here. Go to my brother, Laban. And he lives in Haran. This looks like a journey of about 300 miles or so. And as a point of fact, there are multiple blessings in this story. So now we come to Jacob sleeping with his head on a rock. By my count, he has this dream where the Lord blesses him, and that would be 3 for Jacob. One that his father gave him that should have been Esau's. One when he left, and the father also warned him, don't marry a Canaanite woman. Marry one of the daughters of Laban in Haran. They are your people. These are who you should marry. So when Jacob, he's traveling alone, or if anybody is with him, not very many for sure. He even says that when he crosses the Euphrates River, he only has his walking stick with him. So he took off pretty quick, and he's out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of this 300-mile trip. And he gets a vision from God. And he takes the rock that he used as a pillow when he wakes up, and he makes an altar to God, pours over oil on it, and blesses it, and changes it to the site of where God is, and says the church of God will be there. And God promised Jacob that he would become a great man and father countless descendants. From him will be more than the sands in the sea. And all this happened on his way to his uncle, Laban. Well, as it turned out, Jacob immediately fell in love with Laban's youngest daughter, Rachel, and promised Laban that he would work 7 years for him, and payment would be being given Rachel as a wife. These are different times. Wouldn't go well today, let's say. Well, after 7 years of good and faithful work, Laban tricked Jacob by giving him Leah, his oldest daughter, as his wife. Not Rachel. So, the older daughter, in the mind of the father, the older daughter was to be married first, before the younger daughter. Jacob loved Rachel so much that he agreed and made another contract to work another 7 years for Laban, so that Laban would finally give him Rachel as his payment. Now, between these 2 women and their maidservants, Jacob fathered 11 sons and 1 daughter. And after spending more time with Laban, having 2 wives, Jacob acquired great herds of goats, sheep, and even camels. And then it came the time when Jacob decided it's time to go. head back to his father's house, and he took with him his whole family and his wives and all of his livestock. Set out to make that 300-mile journey. And along the way, Jacob hears that his brother Esau is coming to meet him with 400 men. This frightens Jacob because he thinks his brother's going to come make good on his vow of killing him. So he sends his family away to be safe and is there alone, and he wrestles with a man all night. At dawn, the heel catcher reaches out and grabs a hold of this man, whom he now realizes is the Lord, and refuses to let go until the Lord blesses him again. That's 4 blessings for Jacob. And God does so. God blesses him and changes his name from Jacob to Israel. Then God touches his hip socket, wrenching his hip, causing Jacob to walk with a limp. And also, did you know that because of this encounter, the Israelites do not eat the tendon, which is attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. And Jacob's brother Esau, Edom, catches up with Jacob. And over the years, it seems that while Jacob was away, Esau also became quite wealthy, very wealthy. And the good news was that Esau no longer wanted to kill his brother Jacob. The bad news is that Esau chose to marry women of the Canaanites, just because his father said he should. It seems that not receiving this blessing all those years ago, he could never let go of that, and it harbored hatred, resentment in him, and it becomes ugly. Still true today, when you hold hate in you, it's the ugliest thing you can do. Our God is a God of love, not hate. So it seems that he had multiple wives of the Canaanites, and again, his name is also Edom. He is the father of the Edomites. And that's the background of Jacob and Esau. Both greatly blessed by God. Even so, it seems that Jacob is the one who appreciated it and gave thanks to God for his blessings. Esau, or Edom, could not get over the lack of a blessing from his father, and apparently carried this hatred for the rest of his life. And there's nowhere that I could find where Edom ever gave thanks to God for his riches, for his good life. Now, I began our message by saying that both scriptures were about the if, the then, else. And in Mark 8, we see Jesus using this expression to bring the good news to the world. If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And if anyone is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes to the Father's glory with the angels. Also, in the middle of these two ifs, there is a bit of wisdom, which is perhaps one of the most valuable things that Jesus ever said. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? How much is your soul worth? I would say that to Jesus, your soul is worth everything. And he has done everything to save your soul. When you look at what he paid for your soul, his very life, I'm not going to say he gladly did it, but he willingly allowed himself to become your sacrifice, your atonement for your sins. And all he asks of you is what Jacob had no problem with, but seems Edom did. Saying thank you and accepting what the Lord offers. All he's asking is that you trust in him Hold on to him. Don't let go. Be like Jacob. Grab a hold and don't let go until you receive your blessings. God has them for you. And they're marvelous. They're eternity. They are exactly perfection. And all he asks is that you believe him and trust him. The work's been done for you. You have to do nothing. But sometimes that can be the hardest part, to actually trust. Put your life in someone else's hands. Put your soul in Jesus' hands. And he'll take great care of you. It's precious to them. You are precious to them. Amen.